Washington and Beijing reach a deal to slash tariffs for 90 days while both sides continue talks on a trade agreement. Joining us now to discuss this and more is China expert and best-selling author Gordon Chang. Good morning to you, Gordon. Great to see you.
Thank you so much, Jan.
So tell us more about this tariff rollback agreement and why you think this is a bad deal.
I think it's a bad deal because our tariffs on Chinese goods were remedies for the theft of intellectual property by the Chinese and also China's predatory trade practices. So our tariffs are gone, but China is continuing to steal our stuff and it's continuing its trade practices. So there is an asymmetry here. Also, this 90 days, we're not going to be able to get to the total reset that President Trump talks about because the Chinese do not want to fundamentally change the basis of their economy. So I think it's unrealistic to think we can open up the Chinese market.
Well, there's also no guarantee this pause will actually give way to a lasting agreement. And we know there's also some world leaders who don't want to be collateral damage caught in the crossfire of this trade war. And they say this is a good start. But you mentioned something here about the effect this has had on China and its manufacturing industry as well as its economy. I mean, clearly Trump's tariffs did have an effect on that the past few weeks.
Well, it certainly did. But we got to remember that even before President Trump took the oath of office for his second term, the Chinese export sector was ailing. They didn't have enough orders. People were being put on reduced shifts. Now, the tariffs have aggravated the situation, of course. So we do have Chinese factories closing. We have the protests. We have the problems in the smaller financial institutions in China. So, yes, this aggravated a problem, but this problem was a fundamental one that Xi Jinping has restructured the Chinese economy to be even less open. And so, yeah, this is not Trump's fault.
How would you advise the Trump administration at this point?
I think that they've got to be realistic. Decoupling is important because we cannot be reliant on a regime that has openly declared a quote-unquote people's war on us. We think that's propaganda, but that's important because the Chinese regime, that phrase resonates throughout Chinese history, and it's a phrase which means in China, total war. So we cannot ignore what our enemies are saying about us.
Well, this also comes as the administration helped broker that ceasefire between India and Pakistan, which is significant when it comes to China's role and the country's close ties to Pakistan. How do you see that conflict playing out and even China's involvement?
We see that the ceasefire is holding, which is great news because India had actually attacked Pakistan's nuclear weapons storage site. And that could have led to all sorts of untold developments. But the problem here fundamentally is that Pakistan is allowing its territory to be used by terrorists who periodically attack India. And until Pakistan stops that, we are going to have conflict in Kashmir and in other places.
How concerned should we be about China at this point?
Well, the Chinese regime is preparing for war. They talk about it all the time. We can see that they're engaged in the fastest and biggest military buildup since the Second World War. Xi Jinping is firing generals who are opposed to war. They're stockpiling grain and other commodities. They're trying to sanction-proof their regime. They're mobilizing China's civilians for war. So these are signs that we cannot ignore. And we need the President of the United States to have a very frank conversation with the American people that, unfortunately, we have to mobilize too, because China's made it very clear that they consider us to be their enemy.
China expert and best-selling author Gordon Chang. Always a pleasure to have you, sir, and get your expertise. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Jan.